Hi guys! Today we are going to focus on those secondary colors. So hopefully you guys have watched the videos that I provided yesterday or earlier this week, and you watched the videos about primary colors, which we learned about earlier when we studied Piet Mondrian and we did our Mondrian animals. And then in the videos, it talked about the secondary colors and how when you mix two primary colors, like yellow and blue, you get a color called green. Yellow and red mix and make orange, and blue and red mix and make violet. And you can tell over here on the big color wheel the same thing. There's even a couple other colors in here that when you're bigger, we'll talk about those colors too. But for today, we are going to study the secondary colors, the second set of colors. So you guys learned primary colors come from the earth, and there's nothing that you can do to mix two colors and make blue. You cannot mix two colors and make red, and you cannot mix two colors and make yellow. These colors come from the earth. They're the first colors, and that's another way to say first is primary. So when we mix them, we get the second set of colors, which are called secondary colors. So today, to kind of help us learn a little bit more about the secondary colors, green, violet, and orange, we're going to make a very simple landscape. So you guys know a landscape is a piece of art that's about land. That's the focus. So I'm going to use my paper that I have right here. Now, I personally have a 9 by 12 inch paper. And if you don't have one this big, or if yours is a little bit smaller, that's okay too. Maybe you have copy paper. I have drawing paper, or a sketchbook that you draw in, or notebook paper. You're going to work on whatever you have. So it's okay if your paper is different from mine. I also work with a Sharpie so that you can kind of see my lines a little bit better. I would suggest that you guys start with a pencil. That way you can erase any lines that you don't like. So I also want your paper to be standing tall, kind of what we call vertically. So it would not like this, which would be horizontally. We want your paper this way so we have more room to work. Now when we draw our landscape, it's going to be a simple landscape. And because we have 3 colors, orange, green, and violet, we're going to have 3 parts to our landscape as well. So the bottom part down here, this is going to be our foreground. So that's the part that's closest to us. Then in the middle, we're going to have something called a middle ground. And that's the part that's in the middle. It's not super close, but it's not super far away either. And at the very top of the paper is where our background is going to be. And we worked with a background many times. So the foreground is where we are going to start today. And we're going to make kind of a mountain landscape. So in front of the mountain is going to be the fields of green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on one side of my paper, and I'm just going to make lines from one side to the other, or at least finish them. So if I start here and I make a line, I'm going to stop it when it gets to the other line. So however you want to do your green rolling hills, if you will, is completely up to you. So don't go too far, because remember we've got 3 parts to our paper. We've got foreground, middle ground, background. So we don't want to go up too high. We want to go up just high enough, about 1/3 of the way, which is a big number. You guys aren't into fractions yet, but just about to right here. So this is going to be the green grass of our drawing. The next thing we're going to do is our middle ground. And this is going to be in the middle, and these are going to be the mountains. And a lot of times we talk about how mountains look purple. They're not really purple, but sometimes from a distance they look like they're purple. And in photographs they might kind of photograph that way. So I'm just going to make some very simple triangles. And I kind of overlapped mine. Instead of drawing this line all the way through, I made it look like this mountain is kind of behind this one. And I made it look like these mountains are kind of behind this one. So you can do your mountains any way you want. You could even make mountains in the background if you wanted to do that. I'm trying to decide how I want to do that. Maybe I have a really big mountain there. I have another one over here. Okay, so I've just got a couple mountains back here. Make them look like they're overlapping in there behind these other mountains. So keeping it kind of simple. Now that we have our foreground, And we have a background, or a middle ground, goodness. Now we're going to work on the background. So typically on an average day, the sky kind of looks blue, but our problem today with what we're doing is we're using secondary colors, and blue is not a secondary color, it's a primary color. So when we do our sky, our background, we're actually going to make it look like a sunset or a sunrise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck my sun. Draw a big circle. I'm going to make it look like it's behind the mountains. Because remember, it's supposed to look like it's far, far behind the middle ground. The background is in the very, very back. So now I'm just going to take my circle. And notice how I didn't draw through the mountain because it's supposed to look like it's behind it. The next thing I'm going to do is draw another circle and kind of follow around it. This part might be kind of tricky. But again, you got to stop when you get to the mountains because the background is behind them. So what gets tricky is when we get to the edge of the page and we can't make our lines perfect anymore. So instead of making a really skinny line here, I'm just going to kind of pick up at the edge because I think that if my paper was zoomed out a little bit, I would see this line come through here. So I'm just going to pretend like it's still there. I'm going to pick up on the other side, kind of where I think it might leave off. So now that we've got our landscape drawn, now is the fun part. Now we get to color them in using our 3 primary colors. So if you look at my box, I just have a random box of crayons. I've kind of collected them through the year. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab anything that looks green. It doesn't actually have to say the color green. It can just look green, and I don't even know what's in here. This one says forest green, but it's a type of green, so that works. This one says, Granny Smith apple. That's a type of green that I can grab, and I want to grab maybe just a couple. Grab as many as you have. Asparagus, you might not have as many different varieties of green, and that's okay. You can always use the one green that you have, and depending on how dark you color, so I'm going to show you on the back side. If you only have one green, if you color really hard, and I'm pushing really hard on my paper, this is a nice solid dark green, right? And then if I want to make it a little bit lighter, all I have to do is stop pressing so hard, and I can make it a lighter green. So if you need to do this at the bottom to make more shades or more varieties of green, you can definitely do that if you don't have all the different shades like I have of green. So you can go really, really light. My hand, it's hard to show you, but my hand is not pressing very hard, not nearly as hard as I did here. I might even be able to go a little bit in the middle here between those two. We'll see. So this is definitely an option for anybody who doesn't have a bunch of different colors of crayons. If you do have the different colors of crayons, then that's what you're going to use. So there we go. I've got kind of some different values of green. But on this side, anywhere in the green foreground, that's going to be our rolling hills. Now in the mountains, now I'm going to grab just a couple purples. And once again, if you don't have all of the variety of crayons that I have, that's okay. Just use what you have. So anything that has a purple wrapper and looks like a purple color will be okay. So this one says violet or purple, so that one's definitely good. This one says wisteria, but it's got purple wrapper, so I know it's a shade of purple. And then this one, funny, it says Purple Mountains Majesty. So this one's definitely going on my mountains for sure. And then I've also got one called Plum. And I think I'll grab one more because I put a lot of mountains on mine. Blue Violet. So notice they all have the purple wrapper again. So I know that they're going to be a variety of purple or violet. So now for the background, now we're going to get any of the oranges because orange is our last secondary color. Green, violet, and orange. So again, anything that has an orange wrapper that looks like an orange color. I have red, orange, and orange. Here's a yellow orange that I can use. Anything that looks like it has orange tones. Apricot looks pretty orange to me. My favorite I cannot find is the mac and cheese. I think I use it so much that it's, yep, macaroni and cheese. That's my favorite. So I'm going to grab these oranges and I'm going to use these to color in my background. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause my video. I am going to color in my foreground, middle ground, and background using these 3 secondary colors, green, violet, and orange. So when I'm finished, I will unpause the video and you'll get to see my finished piece. So here's my completed landscape. You can tell some of the colors I definitely used twice. So again, if you only have a couple purples and greens and oranges, that's okay. I definitely used some of my colors a couple times. I just made sure to kind of spread them out and not use them directly next to each other. I definitely repeated some of those in here as well. So here is my secondary landscape with green in the foreground, violet in the middle ground, and orange in my background. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.